Welcome to Unit 3. In today's video, we are going to do an introduction to exponential functions. Everything you've learned so far up until this point have always been expressions or linear functions. Linear functions made straight lines. Today, you are going to be introduced to exponential functions. These functions make curves. So exponential growth functions look like this, and exponential decay functions look like this. So we will no longer be drawing just lines. Now we will also be drawing curves. So an exponential function is a function whose successive output values are related by a constant ratio. An exponential function can be represented of the form y equals a times b to the x, where a, b, and x are real numbers. A does not equal 0, b is greater than 1, and b does not equal 1. The constant ratio is the base b. That's the number that you are multiplying by every time. So let's see what exponential functions look like by graphing them in Desmos. To access the table of values in Desmos, you'll click on the settings gear and then click on the table. Copy down the values below. So let's start by looking at example 1. We want to graph in Desmos y equals 2 to the x. This x is an exponent. So this is different. So y equals 2 to the x is not y equals 2x. These are two different things. Here the x is an exponent. Here the x is being multiplied by 2. So let me show you how to do this in Desmos. You're going to go to desmos.com, and when you do that, you'll click on the graphing calculator, and we're just going to type in y equals 2, and then you want to raise this to an exponent. So I'm going to use this AB button over here. So this button right here, and we're going to raise that to the power of x. So here we can see our curve. It is growing from left to right, and so this is what the curve looks like. We want to copy down the table of values on our notes. To get to the table of values, you're going to click on this setting gear up here, and then you're going to click on the table. So go ahead and rewind if you need to see that again. You'll click on the settings gear, and then you will click on table. And we are going to copy down these values that appear in this table. So if I go back to my notes, for -2, we had 0.25. For -1, we had 0.5. For 0, we had 1. For 1, we had 2. And for 2, we had 4. So again, I'm getting these values here from our table in Desmos over here. Let's try another one. So the next one, example 2, is y equals 1/2 raised to the power of x. So 1/2 is inside parentheses. So I'm going to do parenthesis 1 divided by 2. And then I am going to close the parenthesis. And I am going to raise that to the power of x. So this one you can see is going down from left to right. So this one is decreasing from left to right. And so this represents exponential decay. Again, to get to the table of values, we're going to click on the settings gear, and then we're going to click on table, and we're going to copy down these numbers. So for -2, we have 4. For -1, we have 2. 0 was 1. 1 was 0.5, and 2 was 0.25. So again, this represented exponential growth, and example 2 represented exponential decay. And I'm going to show you how we know that in future lessons. Let's look at example 3. So for example 3, we're going to do the same thing. So I'm going to head on over to Desmos, and I'm going to type in, you don't have to type in f of x. You can just type in the equation. So our function there was 3 raised to the power of x. If you wanted to write f of x equals, you could. You'll get the same graph. So here I can see that my graph is increasing from left to right. And so this is another example of exponential growth. And if I go to my table of values, we're just going to go ahead and copy these down. We're going to round to the nearest hundredth. So that's 2 decimal places. So here, whoops, I don't want my photos. I want my notes. So this was 0.11. Negative 1 was 0.33. And again, we're rounding to the nearest hundredth. That is 2 decimal places. When we plug in 0, we get 1. So when we're 1, we got 3, and then this one was 9. And then let's go ahead and try example 4. Same thing, we're going to round to the nearest hundredth. So on example 4, I'm going to have 2 divided by 3, whoops, raised to the power of x. I'm going to click the settings gear. I'm going to click on the table. And I have 2.25, 1.5, 1, 0.67, and 0.44. And again, I'm doing this because I'm rounding to the nearest 100th. So that's 2 decimal places. Example 3 represented exponential growth, and example 4 represented exponential decay. This has been your introduction to exponential functions. Now you have an idea of what these functions look like and how to find a table of values using Desmos. We're going to go more in depth in our upcoming lessons.